on the claims of sabotage at the power utility. I'm joined now by Mike Rossouw. He's CEO of Independent Energy Thought Leaders and also a former advisor at Eskom. Mr. Rossouw, thank you for your time today. There are allegations now of a sabotage at Eskom. Has this happened before? Are the instances in the past, and specifically you can speak as one who's been involved intimately with Eskom over a long period of time, have there been similar instances in the past of alleged and proven sabotage?
They have indeed, but I have to say, and I have to emphasize this, the sabotage that's so-called spoken of does not come from Eskom employees. It comes from contractors who are seeking to further their aims of securing contracts and supplies primarily, and that's been the history. But overall, the issue of sabotage is extremely unhelpful in the circumstances because the biggest problem is being mapped over by, I would say, the really non-issues. The sabotage is not an issue. It's a problem, yeah, they can deal with it, blah, blah, blah. The real problem is Eskom do not have the resources, the time or the money to look after the plant that they're trying to look after. To give you an example, Tommy, let me give you an example. You've got 20 taxis and you've been running these taxis for many years. You've got one garage and you've got people working in the garage, everything. And your normal situation is you have 20 taxis, of which 2 are in the garage for maintenance and 1 is being repaired for breakdowns. Now compare this to the following situation. All of a sudden, you've still got the same garage, you've got the same people, the same money, but now you've got 6 cars are in breakdown. Only 1 is in maintenance and the others are in serious repair requirements. They require major overhauls. You know what the situation is. The situations get worse and worse and worse. So the best thing you can do in those circumstances is to take out the older taxis and retire them and focus on the taxis that you can repair and get those breakdowns down. Eskom cannot recover from the situation, not even close.
Are you saying then, Mr. Rossouw, that the issue of the alleged sabotage, which has been spoken of now, is not really the central issue, that with or without this alleged sabotage happening at this particular point, as we know, Eskom would have still been in trouble, and that trouble has nothing to do with sabotage, but everything to do with budget, maintenance, and perhaps replenishing of infrastructure?
You're saying it exactly right. Sabotage is just a gloss over. It's a waste of time, of everybody's money and effort, including the press. They're misleading the press. Sabotage has got nothing to do with this. The problem lies fair and square that Eskom do not have the resources and time to do the work that they have to do. They've got to refocus entirely on their strategy. They had a great strategy in 2015 to basically focus their major attention on the older power plant, the newer power plants and the bigger ones, and to cut down attention on the smaller plants. Well, that time's gone. They haven't done that. But now they actually have to take much more serious action on focusing on the bigger plants and divert their resources to those plants. That's what they've got to do. It's simple.
As far as the amounts of finances that are going to be needed, another bailout then for Eskom?
No, as I said, you must remember that to look after a small power station and a big power station comes to the same thing. It's pretty much the same in manpower and spares and time and effort and so on. So in those circumstances, they should be focusing their energy and time and manpower on the bigger power stations and cutting back on the small power stations. It's simple. And in that way, balance the accounts. So this issue about the money in itself, whilst the problem can be dealt with better by focusing your resources and prioritizing, which they're not doing.
There have been calls in the recent past for the Eskom CEO, Andre de Ruyter, to step down as a CEO. Do you think that this is something that's got to do with the man, or are the problems at Eskom much deeper? There are other arguments that are saying whether it's Andre de Ruyter or somebody else, the problems at Eskom will still persist. What is your view?
The problems are much deeper than Andre de Ruyter and his team. As I said to you, the problem is endemic. It's inside Eskom. It's a problem that's been built up over a long period of time. So unfortunate for Andre de Ruyter, he was just caught out at the wrong place at the wrong time, and everything's being blamed on him. But this problem hasn't been happening overnight. It's come for a while. So to start talking about firing the CEO and everything else is no different to sabotage, We're wasting everybody's time. We're just diluting our resources. We need to get focused, and we need to take serious action.
A couple of days ago, Gwede Mantashe spoke about the signing of emergency power agreements. And that is something that Andre de Ruyter was against, saying we cannot really sign any sort of emergency power agreements without us having gone through those agreements. Give us a little bit of context around that and the proposition that was put on the table.
Yeah, look, Andre de Ruyter is dead wrong. I mean, he's just spewing the Eskom line for a long time back that they're very reluctant to bring on new power. Andre de Ruyter knows as well as I do, people inside Eskom are recommending to him to sign these deals and sign these contracts because they don't have the capacity. And by the way, they will never have the capacity to take on the amount of capacity that needs to be brought on. So the quicker he wakes up and the board and government wake up to bring on independent power producers and others to fill the gap, the better. They've been at this now since 2015. What is it now? 2021. That's nearly 6 years, whatever. And they haven't woken up to the case. So to kind of wake up now in the middle of the night and say, oh, we're going to bring on this and that is ridiculous. The public should know that the government have been floundering and poo-pooing this whole issue about IPPs. We've got to wake up quickly, or else, I'm afraid, the economy is going to shut down, and it will shut down quickly.
Your view on this alleged 131 billion rand that is going to be needed, that will go towards green financing, is it a viable strategy? De Ruyter says that this is one way of generating new capacity for the grid.
Look, I think the whole issue about greening is very important. But at the moment, that in itself is a diversion of the realities that we're facing. The quicker that they can shut down the old power plants, which are the biggest polluters, the quicker they can start reducing the greenhouse gases. But the strategy and things that they're talking about, in my view, is trying to placate the politicians and the public at large. We've got to focus on real generation in the fleet and stop load shedding. I mean, stop load shedding now, because this is ridiculous. I mean, it's just getting out of hand. Shops are closing down. Do yourself a favor, go into a shopping center and go and have a look how many shops are closed. By and large, load shedding.
Well, Andre de Ruyter has said that load shedding will remain a very real and present experience for South Africans until 4,000 to 6,000 megawatts are added to the grid. What would you propose as perhaps the most expedient ways of adding those megawatts to the grid?
Very simple. Andre de Ruyter is dead wrong. Don't add more capacity. Bring the capacity that you've got into production and make it reliable. Simple. Doesn't cost a amount of money. Can be quicker than bringing in the amount of capacity he's talking about. So Andre de Ruyter must wake up. I mean, he needs a serious wake-up call.
With what you're saying now then, Mr. Rossouw, I'm going to go back to a conversation that you and I had a little bit earlier on today when we were talking and asking if Andre de Ruyter really is the right man for the job. With everything that you've been saying now, it sounds like you're questioning a lot of the decisions that he's made.
He's getting the wrong advice. Look, I mean, Andre de Ruyter is a good man. As I said, I happen to know him, and he's a good manager. But he has no experience whatsoever in utility power. So he needs better advice, and I think he's getting the wrong advice. That's the bottom line.
Is it time for him to go?
I don't think so, but I do think that he needs to get a wake-up call by hearing the truth that he hasn't heard to date, and he needs to just get a wake-up call. But he's a good man. I think he can do the job, but he needs better advisors.
Would you go back as an advisor for Eskom?
It's a tough call. I probably would. I mean, all the work that I'm doing now, I've been doing at my own expense. I've not got a cent for anything I'm saying or doing. So it depends what they want to do. If they want me to come back, I'll gladly come back and give them some advice.
As independent energy thought leaders, which you are CEO of, what is your view and your standpoint as far as this power deficit is concerned and the solutions for South Africa?
As I said, in summary, we've got to focus less on the issues that Eskom and government cannot control. Government cannot control the funding anymore. They don't have it. Eskom cannot control the resources inside. They're pretty much down 40–50% of the people that they had 10 years ago. So they need to focus on things that they can control. And bottom line is, Eskom can control the large, big power plants that are newer, and they need to stop focusing and wasting money, time, and energy on the smaller plants. Bottom line, that's it.
Mike Rossouw, CEO then of Independent Energy Thought Leaders and former advisor at Eskom. Thank you for your time this afternoon, sir. Thank you.